It's called the Black Sails Distortion. Jeremiah says, this distortion began with a checklist of goals. Full lows without being muddy, and no low control knob. Darker distortion sounds, but with plenty of bright tone when cranked without any harsh top end. Something of a low gain distortion, but seriously, who wants a low gain distortion? Finally, enough distortion to reach a fuzzy edge. Check, check, and check. I added a 3-way clipping switch called Mood. Sometimes I'm in the mood for traditional and familiar, then sometimes I'm in the mood for something far more aggressive. The up position is asymmetrical. It will sound the most familiar, smooth with a lot of distortion. The lower position is germanium and silicon, producing rich harmonics, and is also very aggressive. The middle position, which is Jeremiah's favorite, is full and loud, especially when the distortion is maxed out. Use this position for something of a light distortion boost with plenty of clarity. The distortion ramps up fast, and that is the truth. So if you barely have the distortion knob open, don't feel bad. It's definitely a sweet sound. With the tone and distortion dimed, there are some muff fuzz sounds without the mid scoop. And no, this is not another fuzz clone. So yeah, 100%, and all I did was read specifically from the page that was sent with the pedal. But yeah, it's 100%. It took me a lot longer than I expected to dial in the tone that I was definitely going to be using for the first capture, because I got lost in the soundscapes. It's pretty gnarly pedal, man. It is definitely a nice surprise, and I can tell you right now, when you use the mood switch, do yourself a favor and either stay in the top or bottom position first, and then before you switch to the middle position, make sure you turn the volume way down, because that middle position is like 3 times as loud. That is very, very amazing. Yeah, but I was digging all kinds of crazy tones in there. I was dialing some in and like, oh wow, this sounds like a X overdrive. Dial in some more, it's like, oh wow, that sounds like a distortion pedal I had back in high school. And like dial in a little more, like, holy crap, that sounds like a fuzz I did on the show like 2 weeks ago. I mean, for a 3-knob, 1-switch, single footprint pedal, this is a little Billy Badass. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, wow. Yeah, very, very impressed. Top left is volume, top right is distortion, V pattern. So in the middle at the bottom is the tone, and the mood switch is directly in the center between the volume and the distortion. And again, the mood switch is the clipping options. So up top is asymmetrical clipping, down at the bottom is silicon and germanium blended, and then the middle is just ridiculously loud. It's so loud. So anyways, yeah, this is impressive. Very, very impressive distortion. And I'm even hesitant to just call it a distortion, because it doesn't even begin to describe what this pedal does. But yeah, it's insane. And the cool thing about it, honestly, besides the color, it's the exact same layout as the FA1. So when I first got them, I opened up the package and I looked at them. I'm like, oh my god, I'm never going to be able to tell the difference between these two. But and the LED colors, the positioning of the LEDs, there are subtle differences. Enough about the pedal, man. Let's run it through some tones. First one I pulled up is going to be the Marshall 60A. And with the Black Sails, we have the volume at about 4 o'clock. We are in the asymmetrical clipping stage. The distortion's at 3 o'clock and the tone is at 3 o'clock. Here is our reference tone. that's totally like that's like a chilled op amp big muff that I would totally use for, you know, some Pumpkins tones. But either way, check out the Cortex's version of this. I mean, perfect. It's almost identical. Just, wow. Incredible. Let's just move on to the next cabinet, because there's nothing more to say than wow. So this next setting and cabinet combination is going to be in, let's see, the black sails. First and foremost, the clipping stage, right? The one we just listened to was an asymmetrical, which is up. Now we've moved to the downward position, which is the germanium and silicon blend. And I have the volume, the distortion, and the tone completely dimed. Just full throttle, wide opened. I'm dumping it into a Marshall vintage cab, which is the Greenbacks. It has a uniqueness to it, and I find it's relatively difficult to get a high gain tone to have a lot of clarity and like chordal rings, tonality, individual string tonality, individual note tonality, and I mean this thing does it. The Black Sails just does it. I'm super impressed. I mean, again, just selected the cab and then adjusted things accordingly, micro adjustments to taste, just to show a variant, but also to get a variant capture so that later on we can stack them inside the Cortex when we make a patch, and throw a little reverb, a little delay, a little goodness, so maybe some modulation, maybe some pitch shift, I don't know. We may, we have to go to Home Depot, I don't know if we'll have time. So, regardless, yeah, this is really a unique distortion pedal. But again, distortion, calling it a distortion pedal just doesn't really seem like it does it all, well, pardon the pun, but it doesn't do it justice. It's hard to not overuse the word versatile when it comes to any of the Sound of Justice effects pedals. I mean, every single one of them that I have tried so far, and this would be number 6, every one of them are versatile in their own sense. They all do what they are intended to do, and then they have so much more to offer. But this is also simultaneously the first pedal that I am playing of Jeremiah's that is not a clone. It's not a copy or a modification or whatever term you want to use of some other pre-existing circuit. Like, this is an original, and dude, I totally dig it. It's awesome. Yeah, I mean, it's just I have nothing more to say about it other than wow. And this second tone is just wide open, full throttle, running it through the vintage, the Greenback cabinet. It has a lot of Big Muff Ram's Head style voicings, in my opinion, but I still think that's absolutely incredible, because I see myself using this pedal in completely different settings, just manipulating the clipping stages based on whatever cab I'm putting it into. Here is our reference tone. Cortex's capture of it. mean, it's awesome. It sounds to me like a ram's head fuzz without any of the sputtery Velcro BS. And I call it BS because I'm not a fan of it, because I'm not a soloist. But it doesn't mean I don't like germanium. I like germanium. I just gravitate naturally to silicone. But yeah, absolutely incredible. Let's move on to our next cabinet with this beautiful, beautiful pedal, the Black Sails from the Sound of Justice FX. We are going into a 412 Greenback, which in turn is going to push more of the mid-range. It's got more mid-range focus. So I went back into the asymmetrical clipping mood. The volume and distortion are dimed. The tone has been rolled back to roughly between 2 and 3 o'clock. And the idea here is trying to get a mid-range focused dynamic, what I would consider to be a half gain to 60% gain tone. Something that I would totally use in chord ring outs, something I would totally use in like a bridge muted verse that has arpeggiation with delay, maybe a split position between the bridge and the neck, which would be the middle position, maybe even rolled off of the volume a bit for a quote cleanup. But yeah, basically the goal is to just get another variety of tone from something that is so incredibly versatile. I've got to point this out. This is one of the only distortion pedals that I have dimed the volume and the distortion, and the noise floor is just almost non-existent. That's awesome. It is a very powerful pedal. Very powerful, very versatile. And I love everything about this pedal, man. I mean, the 3 different clipping moods, and the fact that it is quite simply just the volume, the distortion, and the tone. Simple, articulated, versatile. I mean, that's just... You want to talk about a checklist? That's the Spudsy checklist for Gear Corner. Just saying. Like, I'm glad it matches all of the check marks for Jeremiah's checklist that he had when he was coming up with it. But yeah, like, double thumbs up from this guy. This pedal is wonderful, as is every other Sound of Justice effects pedal. If you listen to me, if you listen to my opinion, if you listen to the show, you're gonna hear that general consensus, because, well, I truly, truly believe in this pedal company, this pedal line, this pedal manufacturer. This is a person who knows what he is doing, and I can hear the meticulousness of detail. And that, to me, is huge. That's a massive, for lack of a better term, oversight from many, many pedal manufacturers that are out there. So, yeah, I mean, again, hats off. This is just a great line of pedals. This next round, this round 2, or pedal 4, 5, and 6, if you will. Bunker Brigade approved indeed. Now that we have it captured, this is our reference tone of the Black Sails Distortion from the Sound of Justice FX going into the 412 Greenback. Here's the Cortex's version of it. position rolled back. All the way open on the middle position. Neck. Plenty of sustain and legato, as my dear buddy the early bird would. I would say that's one of the focuses of his tone chase. He's always looking for something that's got sustain and legato. I love how responsive the distortion is to the individual notes in a P90 neck pickup. That's pretty rare to me for something that sounds like such a fuzz box in this setting through this cabinet. That's got every articulation of note without getting glitchy. That's nuts. That's awesome. All right, we're going to the next cab. We're going into a Mesa Rectifier 412 cabinet. That is an oversized cabinet. We still have our 6L6 tube power section, which we've had all along so far with this pedal. Back into the germanium and silicon clipping mood, so the downward position. And we have the distortion is dimed. The tone is close to dimed, just for some sparkly clarity. But I've actually decided to back off of the volume, so it is at 3 o'clock. And the reason why is I was liking the way that the pedal was playing with this cabinet. It has a lot of awesome breakup to it, but I didn't want to go for more of a fuzz tone for this cabinet. I'm going more so for a like a medium to pushed distortion. So it will be relatively thick. It will be relatively gainy. I do thoroughly enjoy both the asymmetrical and the germanium silicon mood positionings. The best is yet to come, though, because when we go to the full and loud, I'm just calling it the full load. Just because I can. But that's the middle switch. Jeremiah is saying in his page of awesomeness that comes with the pedal that is his favorite, is the middle position. It is full and loud, especially when the distortion is maxed out. Use this position for something of a light distortion boost with plenty of clarity. Well, we're going to do that, but not just yet. I wanna show the asymmetrical and the germanium silicon moods first, and then we'll go through and pick a handful of pretty awesome cabinet selections, because man, I tell you, that middle mood, the full load, if you will, it requires a reconfiguration of virtually everything. And I mean, it's in a good sense, but you've got to lower the output of the power amp and cabinet selection. You've got to lower the input volume for the Cortex. You've got to lower the output volume for the Cortex because it all clips. I mean, it's super loud. And I love it. I think it's great. I think it's absolutely great. But again, I wanted to show the asymmetrical and the germanium silicon clipping moods first because there is a lot of versatility in this pedal. All right, here is our reference tone. Cortex's version. Again, absolutely awesome. Very versatile. It's thick, yes. The Cortex's waveforms are a little more compressed. There's, in tone-wise, it is a little kind of tamer, if you will. A little less gain, a little less low end, or at least it's more rounded off. There's a little bit of a mid push, but not much. But that is a totally useful capture. But again, it's the pedal that is just insane. I love this pedal. Reference tone one more time, just because we can. And yes, that was the Cortex that I switched to. You can hear the obvious switch, the drop in volume. Yes, that was the Cortex. All right, let's move on to yet another cab, and let's make it more interesting. So now we are going into one of my favorite cabinets, and that is, if you've listened to this show at all, any previous episodes, you may have picked up on the fact that I totally dig the Gargantuan. That's what I call it, is the Gargantuan, because it is absolutely massive. What I mean by that is it has tons and tons of low end. This pedal, man, this Black Sails Distortion, very impressive. I mean, like, it holds tried and true. It has plenty of gain on tap, and it has plenty of sustain, but it is extremely dynamic. It's extremely responsive to my pick attack. If I am playing something very lightly, it cleans up and brightens up. If I start strumming really hard, it naturally compresses itself. And that is extremely useful, at least in the opinion of this audio engineer and, you know, someone who works in the studio quite often. So I love it. I think it's great. This pedal is definitely a cool fuzzstortion, if you will. So this is going to be our final capture for the asymmetrical and the germanium silicon clipping moods, and then we will go through and pick 3 of the best sounding cabinets for the full load or the full and loud, the middle position, but again, I'm calling it full load. The Black Sails Distortion is going to be in the germanium silicon clipping mood. The distortion is dimed, the tone is dimed, and the volume is backed off to 4 o'clock. Going into the 412 Gargantuan, which is the 412 Uberschall 75s, and that is being pushed by the KT88 power tube section. Here is our reference tone. Beautiful tone to me, lots of soundscape. Here is the Cortex's capture of it. This is kind of where that dynamic I was talking about comes in. It's tons and tons of smooth with lots and lots of low end and gain. I mean, how can you not enjoy that? I don't know. I don't know how anyone can not enjoy that. I'm not well versed in understanding how people could not possibly enjoy those possibilities of tones out of such a small capsule. Yeah, alright, so we are going to now switch to the full load, or the full and loud, the middle position of the clippings mood, and we'll pick 3 different cabinets. So this next cabinet is going to be the 412 Greenback with KT88s. So same tubes in the power amp section that we were using for the Gargantuan or the Uberschall 75s, but this cabinet, again, Greenbacks, it just has a more mid-frequency or mid-range focus, and it kind of just tames the low end, and so I think it gives an excellent variety. Honestly, I think it shows the versatility of this pedal. I did knock the volume all the way back to 12 noon because, again, full and loud in the middle position is 100%. It's full and it's loud, and it like clips everything. So I'm not saying that's a bad thing at all. I'm just saying be prepared when you're setting up your rig. If you're going to be so bold as to kick it into that nitro boost position or the full and loud in the middle mood, I would highly suggest putting the volume directly at 12 noon and then go from there based on how your setup is. Like, don't attenuate everything for the rest of your rig to this pedal. Attenuate this pedal in whatever settings you're going to use it in to your rig. I can tell you right now, this pedal is very capable of being dialed in. It's very, very capable. This is our reference tone. Now that's a pretty tone, but if I just dial down the volume ever so slightly to, and then stack it into the FA1, we have this. Middle position, half volume. Nice and dark. Bridge position, half volume. Again, very dynamic. If I gently pick, versus a hard attack, but all that sustain at half volume, that's incredible. Check out what the Cortex said they liked about the stack. I mean, that's awesome, man. I have yet to have captured a tone like that. That's unique. I dig unique. So, absolutely. We're going to do the next of our 3 final cabs. We've got the Black Sails in the full and loud mood. The middle position, or as I am dubbing it, the full load. Because I own one, and frankly, I can call it whatever I want now, because I paid for it. But we have it in the full and loud mood. The drive or distortion is all the way up. The tone is all the way up, and the volume is at 12 noon. It is going into my favorite cab, one of my favorite cabs, which is the Uberschall 75 412, and it sounds amazing. Check this out. But what if we were to engage the FA1 as the boost after the Black Sails, with the volume at a ridiculously low level of 9 o'clock or 3, without the FA1? With the FA1. Now, notice that I have the volume pot is all the way up on the guitar. My fingers resting on the strings on the fretboard. There's next to no noise floor, and that is the reference tone. Those are both of those pedals, one into the other and boosted into a very loud cabinet. And there's next to nothing. That is insane. That is insane. That is the first time I've been able to successfully accomplish this. And that tone is awesome. But check out how much the Cortex likes it. I mean, again, I still prefer the pedals over the Cortex Capture, and that is relatively unheard of from me. I'm actually the one that enjoys the Cortex Captures more than the pedals themselves. And I just cannot get over just how good the pedals themselves sound. I mean, reference one last time. Absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing.